Okay. Welcome, everybody. We are going to learn a little bit about HIPAA today. And for some of you who may know about HIPAA, I'm going to ask the audience if anyone in this room knows anything about HIPAA. Do you know about HIPAA?
I do.
What is HIPAA?
Health Information Privacy Act. There's two
Close.
P's.
Portability and Accountability Act.
That's close.
You're very close. You're very, very close. So let me ask you this before we get started. What age would you forever want to be at if you could be there? If you could stop your age at any time, what age would you want to be?
25.
Why is that?
It's perfect age. Because I'm old and mature, but not too old.
Oh, okay.
Still
Gotcha.
young and spry.
What would you be? What would you be? What age would you want to be?
Cash would be 18.
Yeah, you probably would. Okay, so I'm going to ask a few questions before we get started also. Just don't roll your eyes at me. Let me see.
I got all the answers.
Okay, what does HIPAA mean to you? In the health field that you worked in,
Yes.
what exactly does HIPAA mean to you?
Not sharing patient information.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, you're good. You're so good.
1 for 1.
What part of HIPAA guidelines fit within your job that you currently had within the health field?
What do you mean?
Like in your position, what did you come in contact with that
All
would be
their
guaranteed as
medical
HIPAA?
records
Mm-hmm.
and insurance information.
There you go.
Ooh, 2 for 2.
You did. Did you find it hard to follow the guidelines of HIPAA?
Depending on the circumstance.
Okay. So like say like talking about other patients or something to
Yeah.
somebody else.
Yeah.
That's a normal one actually.
Sharing, yeah.
Yeah.
Similar cases.
Like when, yeah, exactly.
Very
That was
tough.
always something that we come in contact with. Like, or we'll have like we're a local, we may be like a local laboratory. And so you may know somebody that actually is, from your same state or town. Okay, so my objective for this HIPAA training is for participants to learn and be able to adhere to the HIPAA guidelines, learn more about it, and then also be able to follow the guidelines. Let's see. Okay, so
I like these questions. Keep them coming.
yeah, because you think you're so good at them. All right, can we go to the next slide for me? Just there. Okay, who needs training and why? Employees who come in contact with protected health information are federally required to attend training. So anybody who works in any type of patient care or even clinic, it doesn't even have to be like a health. It doesn't have to even be
Anything with patient information, right?
Yeah, even it depends government wise, but it could even be like a client with it has to be kind of health, but it doesn't technically have to be like a hospital or a doctor's office. It can be a laboratory. It could be a chiropractic office. It could be stuff like that. So, this presentation is designed to familiarize you with HIPAA regulations, the policies and procedures regarding and protecting health information, which is some people like to use PHI. Have you heard that term before? PHI. It's we use it quite a bit. But it's basically just patient health information. Will you go to the next slide? Thank you. This also is to ensure federal guidelines are followed.
You know what happens if you don't follow them?
There is a big fine, and we'll actually go over that in a little bit. Summary of the law. To establish basic privacy and security protection of health information, to guarantee individuals the right to access their health information and learn how to use it, and it is used and disclosed, to simplify payment for health care also. So what does HIPAA stand for?
I knew you were going to ask. I meant Health Information Privacy Policy. Portability and privacy.
And no, it's only one P.
Health
Information Portability Accountability Act. and
Oh,
accountability.
there's two
Act.
A's.
Yeah.
I thought there was two P's for some reason.
It sounds like it because it's HIPAA, but it's
You would think I would know that.
Okay, next slide. We're gonna have a little game at the end of this, so pay attention.
Don't ask me what HIPAA stands for. I'm not going to remember it.
All right. So what exactly is HIPAA? It's a public law 104-191. It was designed in 1996. It was overseen by the Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, and enforced by Office for Civil Rights, which actually I didn't know that up until a few weeks ago. I didn't know that there was two places that enforced it. Regulations on privacy of health information, security of health information, notification of breaches of confidentiality, which are major, and penalties for violating the HIPAA guidelines. It's very, very important. All right, next slide, please. What is protected by HIPAA? Protected health information, which is PHI. Any individually identifiable,
Identifiable?
Yeah, any individually identifiable health information, which that's actually a term, IIHI.
Too many abbreviations.
I know, right? They're going crazy here. Created or received by a health care provider, a health care plan, or health care clearinghouse.
Is it any personal information?
Pretty much. So,
basically.
Yeah, and I have a list of a few that I may ask y'all to remember by the end of the.
You should do what could you share
Huh?
that wouldn't violate, because
I know
that would be
that's actually
way
a really good
easier.
idea. Yeah.
Because there's so many things you can't do, but
There's
what could
a
you
ton.
share?
There's a ton of stuff that basically is used for PHI, which that's actually a really good idea. That should be created. A list of things you can
share,
first, which is very limited. It is also relating to the past, present, of future physical or mental or health condition of any individual, including information related to payment for health care. So even if you try to call like somebody's health insurance, if you don't have the authorization, you can't access it, because it's, even if it was your grandma's health insurance, I couldn't call and ask for that information because I'm not on her plan and I'm not authorized to have that information. So you'd have to be like for example, for me, what I do is, since I work for the laboratory, I'm allowed to do that kind of stuff because I'm
bound by the regulations.
Yes, and I have a certification in HIPAA. So, transmitted in any form or medium, paper, electronic, and verbal communications also are protected by HIPAA. That's crazy to think verbal communications.
Yeah, but that's 99% of it.
Yeah, exactly. So paper, electronic, and verbal communications are all protected by HIPAA. All right, next slide. Okay, so what also is protected by HIPAA? Some examples of PHI is what we were just talking about a little bit ago. Medical charts, problem logs, photographs, and videotapes. I also learned this past week that even if it's radiology, like a scan, like a what's it called, a X-ray, anything in radiology, that those are also patient information, and those are protected by HIPAA. Communications between healthcare professionals, so doctor and a nurse, or doctor in a laboratory, whatever, the doctor and insurance.
Physical therapist?
Yes, physical therapist. There you go. Billing records are also examples of PHI. Health plan claim records and health insurance policy numbers. So let me ask, have any of you been in the doctor before? And have you ever had to give PHI? So like...
What you're allergic to?
Yeah. No, not even that. Like, so have you ever been to the doctor?
Yes.
Did you give them your name, your date of birth, and your address? It's all PHI. So they have to protect that information that you're giving them. They can't, if some police officer comes in, the police officer actually has to bring in a warrant to be able to access that information. They have to give, and even then they have to go above the warrant to get it too. So even when they get it, they can't even just look at it. They have to go through other avenues too. For the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
What is protected by HIPAA? Health information protected if it is directly or indirectly identifies someone. So direct identifiers would be an individual's name. What else would
Social security number.
Yep, and driver's license numbers.
Yeah.
Indirect identifiers. What do you think that would be?
Indirect.
Yeah, indirect identifiers.
Oh, give me something. Throw something in.
Information about an individual that can be matched with another individual, or that can be matched with other available information to identify the individual.
So
Information.
Like phone numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ages.
Yeah. So like ages, phone numbers. It could even be like
conditions.
Yeah, like your health conditions, your
I didn't know that.
even your address. Can't think of anything else right at the moment. So here are some direct and indirect identifiers. Let's see, name, geographic subdivisions. So like your street address, your city, your county, dates except your birth date, admission date, discharge date, and death of date, which those are, which actually, that's kind of interesting.
So those are not violations?
Those aren't, yeah, well.
Like a birth date's not?
I don't know, that's kind of interesting, because actually,
I would have thought a birth.
it doesn't say that they're not direct or indirect, but I would have thought that date of birth would be a direct, because that's what we use. Those are our two patient identifiers that at the laboratory that we have to use to identify somebody, because just their name, their date of birth are the two main ones we use. That's interesting. Okay, so telephone numbers, fax number, email address, social security numbers, medical record numbers, account numbers, internet protocol, which is like the IP address. Any other unique identifier number and characteristic or code. What is also protected by HIPAA? If any indirect or direct identifiers are present, the information is PHI and subject to HIPAA protection. Information Information can be de-identified, but the privacy officer must review to ensure all of direct and indirect identifiers have been properly removed. How HIPAA protects PHI. It limits who may use or disclose PHI. It limits the purposes for which HIPAA or PHI may be used or disclosed. It limits the amount of information that may be used or disclosed, which is the minimum necessary rule. Requires use of safeguards over how PHI is used, stored, and disclosed. How may PHI be used? How may PHI general rule. Workforce members may use or disclose PHI only if permitted uses without an individual's specific written authorization. Which actually, it depends on the situation, because it could be like a lawyer could authorize it and not have to have it. Which actually in most cases, most lawyers or doctor's offices, most of those places actually require a signature no matter what from a patient, so they know what information is going out there. TPO, which is treatment, payment, and healthcare operations, also have permits to use PHI. So like a treatment plan, a payment plan, healthcare operation.
You have to have those.
Yeah, you do. Specified public policy exceptions, public health, and law enforcement. That was that one I said. However, even though they say law enforcement, the law enforcement still has to go through certain avenues to get it. Like if a lawyer, or not a lawyer, but if a police officer just showed up at the clinic or the office, there has to be a reason, reason for doubt.
Can't just question them.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty sure it has to be really extreme. Like it has to be like, they think somebody has Ebola, or so they think somebody has like some crazy, like a nuclear type thing, that's going to affect the whole world. So treatment, providing and coordinating and managing healthcare. That's a reason for PHI to be opened. It includes direct treatment of patient, consultation among healthcare providers,
Yep.
indirect treatment, for example, laboratory testing, patient referral from one provider to another.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you had patients,
Yes.
were there ever moments that you had to share information with another doctor or
Surgeon?
Yes. Or did you ever have to go, hey, by the way, this person's so and so, and they're like, oh, well, did they know automatically who you're talking about, or did you have to like give their date of birth and give their
You just send a file.
They just send a file.
Yeah, secretaries do that.
Secretaries do that. Oh, you're so important.
I mean, there are times when
Yeah.
we do, but I mean, normally
Yeah.
they send all the information over.
Gotcha. So let's see, patient referral from one another to another. Healthcare operations, activities directly related to treatment and payment, such as credentialing, auditing, utilization, review, quality assessment, and training programs. So what would you say is an important key factor so far about HIPAA? What's something that stands out to you about HIPAA? Like in your world of therapy,
mm-hmm.
What about HIPAA is so important that you have to follow the guidelines to HIPAA?
All about, I mean, just not sharing patient information.
Administrative and managerial activities such as business planning and resolving complaints and complying with HIPAA. All right, safeguarding HIPAA. 1 second, actually, I need to pause. One moment. Let me grab these sheets really quick. Collaborate amongst each other. And let's see. Let me grab this.
So how does HIPAA get contacted if there is a violation? Does a patient contact them? And is that normally how it works?
So with that kind of stuff, a patient typically is the one who contacts the councils or the
Is there like a hotline you call?
Yeah, there is. There's a phone number you call. And actually what a lot of them do is they'll contact their lawyers and then the lawyers will contact.
Oh,
Because yeah, it's like an express way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But some, if they believe that their information has been disclosed, actually most, if they believe their information has been disclosed, they go straight to a lawyer. Then that's when, court dates and all that stuff starts getting set up. From experience in a lab, we have lawyers who will call and request, like the records, like the actual documents that came in with their sample.
Do you have to have proof?
Yeah.
They send you proof?
So yeah, they have to send us a document stating that this patient so and so has requested this information be disclosed to them.
Mm.
And then we have to, it depends on the office as well, if we have to answer questions for them. Like we just recently had a patient come in and he had a court date set up and he was needing information like x-rays and all, and his results and all that stuff. Well, he had actually thought that the test that was sent in was not signed off by him. He thought his doctor just sent it in without his notice. And we're like, well, a sample did come in and we did have your signature on the requisition, which is a signed document with what they want to test against your sample. Here's your signature, here's the doctor's signature. And then on top of that, we had other documents stating the same thing. And it had been a few months. Like every month he was sending in a sample with a signature. So we knew that it wasn't something we were doing wrong on our side, but maybe the doctor wasn't disclosing what all was going to be done. And so he'd gone through a law office and then got that requested and he got that sent in. So
we do that with workers' comp.
Oh yeah.
Same thing.
Oh really? Yeah, exactly.
Because they got to send it in.
Yeah. Okay, so safeguarding PHI. People consider health information their most confidential information and we must protect it accordingly. So by doing that, it is do not access PHI that you do not need. It is also do not discuss PHI with individuals who do not need to know it. Do not provide PHI to anyone not authorized to receive it. Misusing PHI can result in discipline, legal penalties, and loss of trust. So I mean, you could lose your job over it if if it's a really
reoccurring.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So you could ultimately, you might get stuck with it, the penalties and stuff, but the clinic could also lose their CLIA license. They could lose, it's a whole big mess. Also, so when using PHI, think about where you are, who might overhear you, and who might see. Can you repeat that for me?
Where you are, who might see you,
and who might overhear.
Oh,
yeah, you're good. You're good at this. All right, so safeguarding PHI still, that would be to avoid. So discussing PHI in front of others who do not need to know. Leaving records accessible to patients or others who don't need to see them. So, just like leaving paperwork out. That's something that we all have to do at the lab, is to make sure that we're putting them away, closing them up when we leave our rooms or offices. Positioning monitors where others can view them. We actually moved into a newer building just recently, and there's a lot of windows in a lot of our offices. So we had to really make sure that you couldn't see inside. Because it's kind of exciting to have windows, but if ultimately we have to be careful with the patient information on the screens. Using printers located in a public or unsecured area.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So like we have a ton of visitors that come into our offices and stuff, and so we have to make sure that where our printer is at is accessible for everybody, but that we're also being safe. So follow safe practices for your computer system ID and password. Use strong passwords. Keep your use ID and password confidential and secure. If you need to write it down, keep it in your wallet. Do not allow anyone else to process the computer system under your ID, which we all have to really make sure. Only access electronic PHI from a workstation certified for HIPAA or PHI access. All of our computers had to go through a huge scrub, and I'm sure every one of yours did too. Do not save on your computer's hard drive, CD, floppy disk, or USB thumb drive. Do not leave computer station unattended without locking it at first. Which actually a lot of hospitals have to go through that. They have to go through a lot of training to make sure that they don't leave just because there's patients and there's clinics and there's nurses and doctors and everything else going on, and do not engage in risky practices with computers used to access PHI. Do not surf the internet. Do not open attached emails unless from a trusted source, and do not install applications unless approved by your employer, because you're making sure that junk email doesn't get, or something, spam doesn't get a hold of it. Do not unnecessarily print or copy PHI. So if you don't need a patient's insurance card, there's no reason to print it off. When faxing PHI, use a fax cover page, because you never know exactly where it's going to go. And on your fax cover page, you want to make sure that you have, if it's sent to the wrong location, please discard appropriately. Do not send PHI an email unless first cleared by your supervisor. Most clinics, labs, hospitals all have a confidential HIPAA web email.
Like a special portal.
Yeah, that's kind of what we have to. Dispose of PHI when it is no longer needed. Using shredding bins for paper records. When retiring electronic media used to store PHI, ensure the media is cleansed according to IT department standards. All right, so now.
Oh no, quiz?
No, not yet. No, there's no quiz. It's supposed to be fun. It's a training.
I already aced it.
You aced it? Okay. Set of cash and camo. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to have you turn around. You're going to look to the screen.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're going to watch a fun video. It's called Don't Mess with Our Patient's PHI rap video.
Oh, I like rap.
Should be interesting. interesting.
Well, the urge to send Outlook email to other accounts like Yahoo and Gmail. We know it's super quick, but you're not being sly. You're putting at risk patients' PHI. It just ain't smart to go breaking the law for the sake of convenience and email withdrawal. Yahoo, email, and others can spy on emails sent, including PHI. Don't mess with our patients, PHI. If you do, you get fired. Pay fines. Do jail time. Do jail time. Don't store data on your personal device. You may have to pay a hefty price. Think of your laptop, smartphone, flash drive. Know that the only way to survive. Make sure your device is encrypted. Safe data means you won't be restricted. Before you hit save, you better think twice. Pay special heed to this expert advice. Don't mess with our patients, PHI. If you do, you get fired. Pay fines. Do jail time. Do jail time.
Do jail time.
Don't be a Snoop Dogg in those EMRs unless you dig stripes and life behind bars. I am patient sharks who don't belong to you. Will land you in some funky deep doo-doo. Don't try to see your manager's charts. A Windex landed in the ER. Keep your patient's info only in your view, not to be shared with your whole social crew. Oh.
He said, oh.
Oh, yeah.
Don't mess with our patients, PHI. If you do, you get fired. Pay fines. Do jail time. Do jail time. To use a patient's photo outside TPO, ask them for their say-so.
This rap video's been in my head forever.
How long is this thing?
To reduce the tension, keep the G-man from teaching you a lesson. Don't take their faces and get all social. Texting and posting and being big and boastful. Download the that's the last message. Wrapped up neatly in this mean rap session.
Alright.
That was great.
So what I did is I have designed, this is a worksheet for you guys. It's a fun worksheet. It's just basically going to go over what we learned today, just kind of in a fun view though. Going to help you remember. Here, I'm going to pass these out. Let me grab you a pen. So basically, it's going to go over...
Give me that pen in your hand.
I guess I'll give my pen. It's going to go over just, what you learned today. It's going to also help kind of remember. So the game on this worksheet is basically just going to be the 4 keys of HIPAA. What does HIPAA stand for?
Oh.
Right? Where do you think you will remember or use HIPAA? What in your job does HIPAA typically apply? Does it apply when you're, taking the trash out? Probably not. Does it? Actually, it does. HIPAA does.
Oh yeah.
Make
you
sure
don't
you're
shred your
not
stuff.
just. Yeah, you gotta make sure you shred your stuff.
Mm.
But before we do the worksheet, I designed these matching cards for everybody to play. It was gonna be Family Feud. But now we've changed it to, it was going to be Family Feud, and I was really excited about it. But then I decided that since our other teammates couldn't make it today due to the weather, that it was probably a better idea to do the matching game. So we only have a few people here, but we're going to play this matching game. And so if you take your cards out of your bag, you'll see that there are different terms on the back of them. Mm-hmm. And what you're going to do is you'll see the description on one side, mm-hmm. and then the term is going to be on the other side. And so by playing this game, you're going to try to match the term with the description. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to play the game. If you guys have any questions, I'm going to be walking around the room to see how it's going to go. And if you guys have questions about the game, let me know. I'm going to see if you can remember. Where's that? There you go.
I got close.
Yeah, you got close on that
Health
one.
information.
Yeah. Oh, portability. Yeah.
Like, it's close.
Let's see. How many have you matched so far?
4.
4. Not bad. How many did you match, Cash? Did you match any? 2. Okay. Not too bad. What about you, Camo? How many did you match? 5. Better than Clint.
No, no one's better than me.
Okay. Alright, so this looks good so far.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see. Let me think of a question that I can ask you guys while you're trying to match those up. Let's see. How about... Okay, so let's say, let me give you an example. So let's say a patient came in and she hands you her her insurance card.
Oop, don't look at it.
Yeah. Okay. So, but what if she hands you her insurance card, but you're just the secretary? Do you immediately look at that card, or do you just hand it right back?
Hand it back. Tell her to hold on to it.
Okay, hold on to it because it's not your job to look at it.
I don't have.
Yeah, you don't have the authorization.
Yeah.
You might even be HIPAA certified, but it doesn't technically mean that you should look at it. You know, there's no need to know. There's no need to know, right?
True.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. How's your game going?
Finished.
Finished. How many did you match?
6 out of the 8.
Ooh, it's pretty good.
The other 2 didn't know.
That is a B.
Oh, right. Can't just pick up a grade.
We'll let you pass that. Okay, so if you're going to take those sheets, those worksheets I just handed out to you, you're going to answer a few questions for me today before we finish up this video. So, again, what does HIPAA stand for?
Health information. Portability Accountability Act.
Yes, there you go. All right, so what type of places would HIPAA would apply to?
Hospitals, labs, clinics,
chiropractic offices, basically any place that has HIPAA, right?
Or personal information.
Yes, or personal information. Now, if you know, say if you're going to go renovate your house and you go meet the contractor, he's probably not going to care about, you know, keeping your information private because it's not you're not a client there. You're not really sharing any important information at that moment, at least. Okay, so let's see. What about this training is going to stay with you? What about something that stuck out to you specifically today?
How important it is to make sure not to disclose patient information, and in the ease of it, how it can happen easily without
without even knowing it. Yeah, and the penalties are enough to make sure that you don't do it there too. Okay, so any questions on your worksheet? On some of the questions that you have there?
No, that one was easier.
No, it's gotten easier after the training, huh?
Of course, you're such a great teacher.
Thebomb.com. Okay, so before we leave,
yes.
And I let you guys go into the world to protect HIPAA.
Yes.
What do you think from today, this training, will stick with you?
I just told you.
Well, what else? What is something you're gonna be able to use it? You're gonna be like, oh, I remember this training. This is what I learned.
I learned what HIPAA stands for. I learned there's a lot of abbreviations and a lot of big words. I also learned that you can share certain things like birth dates that I did not think you should be able to share.
No, I don't think you should. That's really weird to me.
So
yeah.
What I learned is to double check before I share information.
I like it.
Before I do it, because there's so many things that you can't share. Yeah. There really needs to be a list of what you can share.
I know. That's something I need to create.
We should have done that.
Yeah, I'm gonna come up with that.
Because I bet there's 5.
Share it to the world. Yeah, I think there's
like 5
very
things.
little. Yeah. So we're gonna be ending with this, and then what I'm gonna do is, after you guys leave, I'm gonna send out an email thanking you guys for coming and joining me on this HIPAA training today. You guys did an awesome job. You're great audience. And then I'm also going, in the email, I'm gonna send you the link to the Excel spreadsheet that I made today, or not the Excel, the PowerPoint
Yes.
that I made today. And then also I'm going to be sending out the rap video.
Oh, God.
That little rap video is going to be something that you guys can always use. And if you need something to remember, you can always go back and use it. So thank you guys so much for coming today. I hope that you learned a great deal about HIPAA. Hope you learned when to use it, when not to use it, and how to use it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Bye.